So in this video, we're going to be looking at message types. Now, so far, we've just been typing our prompts directly into our chat models. But chat models actually have different types of prompts that you can send into them. Let's just call them prompts for now. And they're called message types. Yeah, different types of input. Yeah, input is a good word. So different types of input you can give them. And these inputs are known as message types because every single interaction that you're having with a chat model is a message. The prompt you're sending is a message. What you're getting back is a message. So let us see how LangChain describes this message. And we'll also later see a demo of how we can create these messages with the helper classes that LangChain provides for us to work with different types of messages in our chat models. So, like I already said, messages are the way we communicate, but we have different types. And the very first one we're going to be looking at are system messages. System messages. Now, system messages are not compulsory. You don't have to use them, but they are the top level message. If you have to have an hierarchy of messages or a sequence of messages, the system message goes first, and you can't have two system messages in a single conversational session or a prompt response cycle. You have one system message. You can have multiple types of other messages, but the system message is just one. And what system messages are, they're basically instructional messages. You're passing an instruction to the model, and that instruction is going to carry on for that particular conversation, that prompt response cycle. And if you leave the messages, if you don't send any other system message, it will just carry on for the entire conversation. It will carry on for the entire session of your conversation with the chat model. So, like I said, it's for sending instructions, how you want certain things to be throughout the conversation, or at least before you change the instruction. So you can do things like, for example, you can tell the model to assume a role, which is a very common use case. You can tell it to assume a role like, yeah, you want to perform a task and it's a JavaScript task. It's often helpful if you can tell the model first through a system message. These days you can type it into your prompt in chatbots, but when you are writing applications in LangChain, you tell the model through a system message, you are a JavaScript expert. Yeah, you tell the model through a system message, you are a JavaScript expert. It just goes and focuses on the side of its training that has to do with JavaScript. So that when you send in a prompt, it doesn't waste time going to other areas of his knowledge base. It just focuses on that portion of his knowledge base that is JavaScript. So it helps the model to focus. It helps you to focus. So you assume a role. Sometimes you want to ask questions on gynecology. You can tell it to assume the role of a gynecologist. Or you want to ask it questions about your skin, you tell it to assume the role of a dermatologist. So you use to pass system, one of the system instructions you can pass is to tell it to assume a role. You can also give it instructions to output in a specific format. Yeah. For example, you can say, for every prompt I give to you, give me the response in French. Yeah, like give me the response in French. Anything I tell you, so you just basically turn your model into a translator. So anything you tell it is going to reply you in French. So yeah, I don't know. No, translators translate the exact messages to French. Well, you can tell it to do that too. That you are a translator, you are a French translator. So anything I tell you, you tell me the exact thing in French. Or you just say, give me the responses to every question I ask you in French. So these are kind of different ways. What else? Yeah, you can even tell it, try to tell it how the tone it should assume. Maybe assume a formal tone, an informal tone, or probably just use one-liners to reply you. Reply me in a bullet list. Don't write verbal stuff. Just give me bullet lists for everything I tell you. So you can give any type of instructions, and they will carry on through the conversation. So that's system messages. They are instructional. Instructional. Yeah, so system messages are instructional. The next set of messages we have are user messages. User messages. Now, this is the important, this is not most important, but this is the compulsory part of your prompt. This is the compulsory part of your input to a chat model because it is the actual thing you are trying to tell the model to do. Yeah, this is the actual thing that you're trying to tell the model to do. And It can be text and it can be multimodal. With the powerful models we have these days, you can send in just text, or you can send in images, you can send in audio, you can send. So anytime you see yourself chatting with a chatbot, the message you're typing is the user message. That's your input, your own input is the user message. And this can be a task. You can tell it to generate a poem. You can ask it to summarize a bunch of information. For example, you can probably dump your earnings into a model, something you shouldn't do with public models, actually. But you can dump your earnings into a model that you use in-house, and you can tell it who is our biggest client, or who was our biggest client last year, and it will be able to summarize all that information for you. You can also tell it to perform a task. Maybe you have a picnic with friends, and you just tell it, plan a picnic, or plan out the itinerary for a particular trip. So it can be, it's basically tasks. So your user messages are what you use to tell the model the task you want it to perform. So task. There's a whole lot more to prompting and prompt templates that we're going to look at when we're in our prompt template module. So if you check out the prompt templates, check out the prompt templates module to learn more about prompting and prompt templates. Here, we just want to know enough to be able to know what role they perform in a chat model. But back to messages. So back to messages. So user messages. The next set of messages are AI. They call them AIMessage. It can be confusing because the actual name is assistant message, but it's called AIMessage. So the assistant message. This is the response that comes back from the model. Yeah, the assistant message is the response that comes back from the model. So when you feed your input into the chat model, whatever comes back is marked as an AI message. Marked as an AI message, the assistant message. You cannot control that. You don't have anything to do about that. It is the model's response. You can definitely do some generation configuration, which we'll look at in another video, how to configure how your responses are generated, but you can't directly decide what is going to come out. That is the model's response. That's why the model is autonomous, because it can generate new information based on what you tell it to do. So assistant message, this is the response from the model. That's the LLM itself, the response from the LLM itself. So these are the three main messages when it comes to chat models. These are the three main types of messages. And messages are used to construct a prompt, because some of you might be thinking, so what's the relationship between a message and a prompt? A prompt is composed of messages. So it can be a single message or an array of messages. But a prompt is composed of messages. The final message we're going to be looking at is the tool message, something called the tool message. I think it used to be called FunctionMessage at the time, but that name has been deprecated. But we have tool message. And tool messages are basically what you get back for function calling activities. Yeah. So basically the thing you get when you get a tool message back is call these functions and call this function or these functions and use this argument. Call this function or these functions and use this argument. Tool calling is all about providing a bunch of functions that are existing in your application that you would like to call. I'm giving it to the LLM, giving it a task, and based on that task, it's going to extract the function that it thinks you should call and also the arguments for that function. Then you get that information in a tool message. You get that information in a tool message, then you can take that tool message and call the function within your application. The model doesn't call the function for you. Yeah, you call the function in your application. So those kind of functions, they can do things like run things within your application, run processes within your application, or call an external API, call an external service. So that's why tool calling is very, very useful for, extending the capabilities of your model, even getting information from the web and stuff like that. But more on that in our tool calling, there's a tool calling video in this chat models module. And we also have a whole tool calling module, so you can check that too. If you're interested in tool calling, or sometimes called function calling. Yeah. But what you get back when you tell the model to do when you do function calling or you do tool calling, what you get back is a tool message. Like I said, a tool message is simply a suggestion of the functions you should call, because tools are basically functions. The functions you should call, and the arguments you should call them with. So it is the response for tool calling. Tool or function calling. Response for tool or function calling. So that's your tool message. And those are basically the four types of message that we're going to be looking at now. There are the four main types of message in LangChain. And like I said, a prompt, which is the final thing that goes to your language model through your chat model, is made up of messages. It's made up of messages. These messages follow a sequence. For example, in a typical conversation where you have a system message, you first start with a system message. So that will take up for the whole conversation. Then you follow it up. You have a system message. So it just carries through the entire conversation. Then after that, you have a user message. You have a user message or human message. Sometimes it's called human message. Then you send a human message that will be followed by an AI message. Send another user message that will be followed by an AI message. And back and forth. And you might have a human message that consists of a tool call. And that will send a tool message, which is just a subset of an AI message if you look at what the context of AI messages. So this is the sequence it often takes. The conversation is, at the end of the day, the conversation is mostly user message, AI message, user message, AI message, user message, tool message, AI message, and all that. So, yep, those are messages. And when you have messages, a prompt is made up of messages. A prompt is just a single call to your chat model, but it can be made up of multiple messages. Sometimes people construct conversations to give example of how the conversation should go before they finally send the last message to be a user message, which is what the model would then take into account. For example, if you want to provide examples of how the conversation should go to the model, you can have a prompt. The prompt will have an example user message first. Let's say I want hello. Then the AI should respond hi. Then I say, how are you? And the AI should respond fine. Then my final message will now be, what did you do today? Then send this whole thing as a single prompt. Send it as a single prompt to the model. Then the model will now look at this conversation and see that, oh yeah, this is a cordial conversation between two people, and the answer seems to be one-liners, and it just picks patterns from how the conversation has been going through your examples and just answer at the end of the day with something like, yeah, let's say shop. All these messages were packed into a single prompt. But like I said, more on that in our prompting module, prompt templates module. And that's message types. That's message types. Next, we're going to be looking at how to create messages and pass them into prompts, and then pass the prompt into chat model. So now that we know how messages work in LangChain chat models, let's construct a few message prompts using the message classes. I'm going to create a new file. I'm just going to call them messages demo.py. Let's call the file messages demo.py. So quickly, let's just set up our LangChain model. Say LangChain from LangChain OpenAI. Import chat OpenAI. So let's set up our model. Say model equals chat OpenAI, and let us set the model to GPT-4o. GPT-4o-o. So GPT-4o. Good. So we have our model in place. But this time we're going to be using the standard message types in LangChain to construct a prompt. And the first one we're going to be using is a human message. We're going to be trying out a human message. Now to do that, we're going to get the call library in. And from the call library, we'll be using the messages module. That's where we're going to get our message classes. That's where all our message classes exist. So LangChain core.messages. From there, we import human message. So for you to send user messages, or like I said, human messages, you need the human message class from LangChain core messages. So human message. And down here, let's create a user message. Let's create a user message. So I create a user message variable, and I'm going to set that to the human, to a new instance of the HumanMessage class and configure it. Now, the most important parameter that needs to go here is called content. That is the actual message that you want to send, the actual string message that you want to send. So content. So what can we put here? We can just simply say, who is the president of France? So say, who is the president of France? And now we can call our model with the invoke function. Now, because we're going to be passing these messages that we constructed using a message class, we have to pass them in as a list. We have to pass them in as a list because, like I said, a prompt is made up of different types of messages. So one or more messages. So if you're going to be using these standard classes, you have to pass them in as a list. So that one list represents the one prompt that is going to the model. And for now, I'm just going to pass my user message. Pass my user message. And that should be good. So we just invoke that with the user message. And we can simply come here and print our response. So response.content. So it's a print response.content. So we set up our model. We created our HumanMessage, which is our user message, giving it the content parameter, which contains the actual message we want to send, the actual string message we want to send. Then we say model, we call our model and we call the invoke function. But because it's messages, you have to package them into a prompt and it has to go into a list. Yeah. So we create a list and we pass in our user message and then we print out the response. So let us see what we get. Let's run Python messages demo.py. Python messages demo.py. Enter. Wait for a few seconds. And it tells us, as of my last update, the president of France is Emmanuel Macron. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but I think it kind of has that kind of friction within his name, Macron. Macron. So my Emmanuel Macron. So yeah, that worked. And we've been able to create a user message using the standard class. Because the user message is in the standard class. But let's make things a bit more interesting. Since we're asking about the president of France, why don't we add a system message? Yeah, add an instruction, system message, and tell it to respond to us in French. How fun would that be? Now, if you speak French, you should enjoy this better than I do because I don't speak French. I understand a few words, back in elementary school and stuff, but let's see what happens. So we get HumanMessage. Let's also get SystemMessage. SystemMessage. That is the name of the class for building system messages. So we have HumanMessage and we have SystemMessage. Then let us create our system message. Just going to put it above our user message because system messages actually come first. So say system instruction. System instruction equals system message. And just like our HumanMessage, the main parameter you need to pass in is also content. Passing content. So I'm going to say content. But now my content is going to be the instruction that I want to give this chat session. What instruction do I want to give it that will carry on throughout the conversation? And that will be to reply every prompt in French. Reply every prompt in French. So I know that GPT-4o is multilingual, and one of the languages it supports is French. So we should be able to get our response in French. But let's see how that works. So we have our system instruction, which I've constructed with our system message. Now what we need to do is put it right here, just above our user message. That's in our invoke call. So it's a system instruction. Yeah. So we have system instruction and we have user message. We have these two in place, and now we can run this code once again and see if we can get our response in French. So let me pull up the terminal. Let's clear the screen. Or should we clear the screen? No, let's just run it again. We have the English answer. Now let's see the French answer. We're going to pull that command up once again. Python messages-demo.py. And now when I hit enter, wait a few seconds, and it gives the answer in French, which I am really scared to read out right now because I know I'm going to murder it. It starts with something like Le Président de la France. Yeah, Emmanuel Macron, at least that's still there. We all understand that Emmanuel Macron. But we have been able to get our model to reply us in French just by using a system instruction. And we have constructed all this. We've constructed all this out of message classes. So this list is basically us building a prompt. We're building a prompt that consists of different types of messages. And here we've been able to build a prompt that has a system message and also has a user or human message.